Hey everyone, my name is Frances Eve from Holy Stretch, and today I wanted to share a video with you that is not releasing toxicity from the physical body, but releasing toxicity from the mental, emotional, psychological body. So actually, technically, you can also release it from the physical body because everything's connected. What I want to talk about is how to release toxic people from your life. So let's begin. With the idea that we attract people, places, and situations that fulfill our stories or our beliefs, then we can see how when we attract toxic people who trigger us, essentially they are our greatest teachers to help us see what kind of patterns we've been repeating throughout our lives. And the only way to do this is to be objective. So to be objective of who's in your life. If you come with this from an emotional aspect, like, oh, this person just doesn't do it for me, whatever it is, like with that emotion, it's going to be impossible to release that person without force. And the only way to release that person with surrender is to learn the lesson behind what they're teaching you. This isn't easy work. In fact, this takes a lot of practice, and I'm always practicing releasing toxicity because it takes vulnerability. It takes looking inside and seeing where the old patterns and the old stories came from. And actually, I got inspired to make this video because I just had a couple of really powerful bodywork sessions where I was releasing a lot from my throat chakra. I had a fear of making a video like this because it takes vulnerability, because I'm a bit of a perfectionist and want things to look good and want to look good. And I was just like, there's no way I'm going to be able to do a talking video like this, but I'm grateful for the opportunity, and thank you so much for supporting this lesson and vulnerable videos, because this is where we get to connect with each other. So, knowing that we attract places, people, and situations that fulfill our stories, let's talk about what a story is. The stories come from events in our lives, mainly as far back as you can remember. So I have stories from when I was an infant. I remember crying in my crib and hearing my mom and dad in the living room, and they weren't coming to make sure I was okay. And that stemmed a fear of abandonment that lasted like pretty much my whole life. And when I was in 4th grade, I was bullied for 2 years. I specifically remember one day where I got pantsed at school, and I was so mortified. I went inside and sat by a fountain and just bawled my eyes out. And I remember that the idea or the thought that I had imprinted in my heart and on my mind was, you're not good enough. Nobody will want to be your friend. And you can't trust girls. You can't trust women. And that was a story that I carried for most of my whole life. And the last couple of days, really the hopefully the last of it, but who knows? Life is an ongoing journey. Most of it came up, and what I mean came up is that we release things through tears, through crying, through sobbing, through journaling, through dancing, through meditation. We can release a lot of trauma. For me, I often cry, and then it's nice to journal. I don't always journal, but every time I do, it feels really good. So I definitely recommend that. And so, how do you get rid of the toxic person in your life? Maybe you don't know any toxic people. Well, that's great. If you do, maybe they don't trigger you. That's also nice. But if they do trigger you, then you definitely could heed to the suggestion of trying to be as neutral as possible in this situation, meaning there is no right or any wrong. Unless this person is physically, verbally abusing you, those kinds of things, then this person's obviously very toxic in your life, and make sure that you physically separate from this person. But if this person just triggers you, like they annoy you, they frustrate you, then take this person, remind yourself that this person's here to teach you something, and consider what that is. Now, this could be challenging. It is challenging, especially if we're in close, intimate relationship with this person. It can be very, very challenging. And it takes a courageous heart, because you have to see this person and separate your beliefs about this person from who they actually are. And this person, as they actually are just like you, just like me. We were born innocent, and then we were bombarded with these thoughts and these beliefs that created the personality that we have today. And that doesn't mean that this person could never change. However, there are a lot of people who are fearful to go down this journey, and it takes them more time. Some people never have this learning experience in this lifetime. So instead of attempting to change someone else, the only thing we can do is take responsibility for our relationships with others by cultivating a relationship with ourselves. And by loving ourselves, we're able to extend that love to others. So ultimately, the hatred and the separation in the world today is caused by disdain, hatred, separation from who we truly are. So the stories that I shared with you, my personal stories, had manifested in this lifetime. They manifested as women who I thought I could trust, who I could no longer, or my idea was that I could no longer, rather. Relationships where the first sign of an argument, I freaked out, and had my baby abandonment stories come up. Scarcity stories are very common. I definitely had them. My parents growing up would argue about money. So therefore I associated with money with negativity and something that I didn't want to have. So all of us have our beliefs. And the way I like to think about it or teach it is we have our belief systems. The acronym for that is BS. So that explains that. And it's because it's not the truth. It's our truth in the moment. And our truth in the moment can change. So don't be attached to what you've always believed in. Because just as life is fluid, we are also fluid. And our emotions about things can change. So that's what I have for you today. And just to sum it up, we attract people, places, and situations that fulfill upon a story that we've created based on an event from childhood, usually. And oftentimes when we look back at events in our childhood, we may not think about it in the moment, but typically you can go way earlier than even that. So if you think, oh, when I was 5 years old, this happened. Potentially even when you were younger, something triggered even that. And then that led to something that happened when you were 13, and something that happened when you were 16 and 25 and 36. And it just keeps going on until we either have a mental emotional breakdown, or we say, that's enough. I'm done. I'm done playing a victim. I'm done being afraid to be vulnerable. I'm done not looking at myself in the mirror and telling myself how amazing I am. and being able to see people in our lives objectively, having that compassion, knowing that they too are beautiful and have stories and beliefs that have created a personality that's triggered you. And we can't change anyone else, we can only change ourselves. And how we get to do that is to be vulnerable and honest with ourselves. What lesson is this person teaching me? What can I learn from this person? And separate yourself from the emotion of frustration, anger, resentment, fear. Easier said than done. It's a practice. So, no self-beat up if it doesn't work right away, or if you start to get frustrated. It's a practice. So it's my intention to make more videos that are emotional, psychological practices. I've created Holy Stretch to teach all of you about holistic stretching. So holistic means the body entirely, emotional, spiritual, psychological, and physical. So please comment below if you have any feedback or questions or things that you'd like to hear more about. I'd love to make a video catered to what you'd like to learn more about. And remember to give yourself some love today. And I'll see you all next time. Take care.